So I'm delighted to introduce Stephen Costigan, who's joining us today for our Seeing It Your Way piece. Now, Stephen, maybe you could just start us off by just giving us a little bit of your story, your background, if you like.
Yeah, I am a diabetic and I lost my sight to be fully now about 3.5 years ago. Um, about 5 years ago, I had started noticing a rapid deterioration in my eyesight. I had only had my annual screening and everything was fine prior to that. And then in the January of 2016, my sight started going. I had emergency surgery and then ended up blind where I could only make out the likes of shadows and stuff. So I went through a number of other procedures and that to try and help me save the sight that I had or even to try and improve it a little bit. But unfortunately, nothing happened from that.
Mm.
Then in August of last year, what they had said was going to be my good eye ended up completely dying. So I had to have that removed. And my right eye now is which I'm left with. I have to have procedures on every 4 to 6 weeks. And the idea behind that is to try and save what is there. Now I can't see anything at all. I just make out darkness and bright. So that's all I have at the minute. So it was a bit of a culture shock. My job involved me traveling all over the world. So I went from being able to literally do anything really to losing my sight. So initially what I did was I said, I'm going to take the bull by the horns and plod forward, which I did for about 5 months. And then all of a sudden, one of the days I went to go out because like I had been doing my training, I had been going out on my own to the shops, going over to my local club, socialising, the whole lot. And then I went to walk outside the door one of the days and it was like there was a brick wall in front of me. I couldn't put my foot outside and I started having panic attacks, the whole lot, you name it. I've been trying to get back out with not an awful lot of success. I still suffer an awful lot with anxiety and panic attacks, and there are times when I go to walk out the door and I physically can't. And
Yeah.
if I have to go to say an appointment or something like that, the night before I get very little sleep because I'm very anxious of the fact of leaving the house. So where that came from, I don't know because initially, as I said, I was flying,
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
flying everywhere and anywhere. But since then, it's just been a nightmare. But I keep myself occupied. Luckily for myself, I've always been a bit of a tech geek, uh,
Yeah.
to say it lightly. So for me, technology, I embraced it to try and help me out with my normal daily life and sort of looking forward to see what way it could help me in the future.
So what sort of things did you start looking into? What were the first sort of steps? You were saying you're a techie normally, but what were the first things that you were looking at in relation to your vision then?
In relation to the vision, I was looking at, say, for the likes of getting to the shops to make sure that I was taking the right directions,
Mm.
planning routes in advance, and then in the home itself, like I'd be a very independent person, and
Mm.
I would get annoyed with myself for the likes of not being able to read the post and that. So I start
Okay.
looking into applications for to help out with the likes of that, like simple little things. I even my dog that I have here, like trying to her now, she goes and brings me the post and everything she does. So
Excellent.
she's very good that way. She is,
Yeah.
and but the likes of that way with normal daily living stuff to try and help out.
Yeah. So you were saying about the likes of getting to shops and finding your way around. Was there a particular piece of technology you used to help you doing that?
Yeah, well, there's a good few apps out there to try and help you. So I did try and test them out as much as possible. There's one called Lazarillo, and
Mm.
then using the Google Maps as well is quite good once
Mm.
you activate the fact that you're going to be walking. So little things like that.
And did you find that that kind of helped you in the, I suppose, the acceptance process in a way that kind of gave you something to focus on, and that was helping you to move forward and kind of, I don't like using the words get used to the vision loss, but to be able to adapt.
Being able to adapt was a very big thing.
Mm.
And as I said, luckily for myself, I'm very big into technology. It's not my working background, but it's just a hobby that I've always had. And
Yeah.
like I do beta testing for the Google Accessibility app, and the same for the Microsoft accessibility features. So it's just something to keep me occupied, and then to try and iron out any potential problems that will be in the upcoming releases of the likes of the Google applications or Microsoft updates in regards to accessibility.
Yeah,
So it
very good.
keeps me going during the day on that.
Yeah, and that's actually really good that you're kind of being able to have a role in the feedback and kind of development of those things as well. That's very useful. What tech would you say has made the biggest impact on your life?
Um, well, it'll be a combination because I use my mobile phone and my laptop quite a lot, and my TV. So it would be a combination of the three. The
Yeah.
TV would be down to I've been able to activate the accessibility function within the TV, so it means it talks back to me as I'm navigating through it, and then it has some of the built-in apps, the likes of Netflix, the Disney Plus, Amazon Prime Video, all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
Then my phone with all the applications that I have to help me through the normal daily routines, and then my laptop for keeping in touch. On the laptop now I use the Microsoft Narrator, and I use NVDA, which is very, very good. I did try out JAWS. I wasn't overly happy with it. Now that was a few years ago, and I believe that there's been a good few changes, but I still prefer the NVDA.
Yeah. You were saying you use both Narrator and NVDA.
Yeah, I can quickly switch between both. Some will have better features than others.
Just to give an example, what would you use Narrator for instead of NVDA, or NVDA for instead of Narrator?
Websites. Some websites aren't great in the way they've been designed from an accessibility perspective. So NVDA sometimes works better on certain websites than what Narrator does, and vice versa.
Okay. Okay, so you'd find some websites actually Narrator does a better job sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I
very
know
good.
Microsoft have been putting an awful lot of time and resource into it. I got a call from them because I highlighted an issue there a few months ago.
Yeah.
What was happening to me was I because of the way the brightness hurts my eyes. I wear glasses when I'm out, so the brightness from the screen I have turned down using the high contrast.
Yeah.
And one of the days I was completing a form, and I kept on typing away because, as I said, I'm fairly proactive or prolific on the keyboard.
Mm.
And when I got to the end, there was nothing there. The web page had closed down. So
Yeah, yeah.
I reopened it, and the same happened again. So I put it through to Microsoft a couple of times, and I got a phone call from them after receiving an email from them. And I was going through one of their texts. You know, we were at it for a good hour, hour and a half, and he couldn't find out what was going on. So I said, okay, I appreciate your time and help, and the fact that you actually did call about the issue. So I spent a bit more time on it
Yeah.
myself and found out that it's a problem with Microsoft Edge and the accessibility features. When you have high contrast turned on, it's causing a crash, which caused Microsoft Edge to crash.
Yeah.
So I reported that back to them, and lo and behold, it was fixed in the update from Microsoft. So I was delighted. But
That's
as I said,
great.
I'm a
Yeah.
beta tester. I'm a beta tester for them, and the issue has
Yeah.
reappeared there last week. So it's one of those things where you get a knock-on effect for it. But the fact that there is help and resources out there from the likes of the large corporations like Microsoft is very reassuring. especially in the field of accessibility. There's an
Yes.
awful lot more time and effort being put into it, and resources, and Google as well. Well, sometimes Google will take a step forward, then they'll take two steps back in another part of the accessibility feature. So there's pros and cons with both sides.
So just a moment ago, Stephen, you mentioned your day-to-day routine and the different technologies that help you to get through the day-to-day routine. Can you just kind of describe for us what your routine would involve and where technology comes into that?
Well, the normal, you get up and then the first thing you want to do is have a cup of coffee. So I have a normal standard kettle like anybody else would, but I have it's a little device that I got actually from the Council of the Blind shop that you hang off the side of the cup,
Yeah.
and it beeps when the water level is at a correct height for you. So that's one piece of tech there that's it's minor, but it's
Yeah.
very, very useful in the normal start to your day.
Mm.
Then for the likes of the breakfast, I have a normal toaster, but I use the bumpers and they're on the dial, so I know what the temperature is going to get to for making the toast. Uh, Same as my microwave, I've got that set with a bumper for being able to microwave stuff.
Yeah.
As I said earlier on, I'm a diabetic, and one of the biggest problems I had initially was uh, doing finger pricks to check my blood sugar levels, and
Yes. Yeah.
sometimes it'd be like a massacre. There'd be blood everywhere from me trying to do it. So what I've got now is I have a sensor that's
Yeah.
in my arm. I have to change it every 2 weeks, but it's linked to an app on my phone, and it uses the phone and the sensor together that I can get my readings from.
Brilliant.
So it's really good. So that has actually helped me with the control of my diabetes, which has been a
Brilliant.
huge, huge help. So it
Yeah.
means no more finger pricks, no more messy blood. So that would be a huge part.
Yeah.
Um, and then the phone or the laptop then for checking emails, and then for the post I use an app called Envision AI. I was one of the beta testers when that came out a
Yeah.
couple of years ago, and it's now available on the App Store, the Google App Store, that is.
Yeah.
Just to note as well, I'm an Android user through and through.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so the app itself last year was costing €48 for the year. Now, to
Mm.
me, for what it was giving me throughout the year, that was nothing. But now, because they've had more subscribers, they've dropped the price dramatically. It's only $19.99 a month now for the whole year.
Yeah.
And for what I'm getting out of it, it's nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's just absolutely fantastic that way. So it means now I've got the function to be able to read my mail and respond to them. And then, as I said, dinner time, I use fresh dinners that I microwave, so they're handy enough. And then during the day, I'll listen to the TV or music, use the likes of Netflix, the Amazon Prime Video. That would be my sort of daily routine. As I said, I don't really go out that often.
Yeah.
My mum comes across every 2 weeks, and she, because of the COVID-19 and I'm doing, and she'll do my shop for me and drop it off. But before this all hit, I used to go with her every week, and it'd get me out for an hour or two
Mm.
down to the shops. Um, it's very, very handy getting out that way. Like, and again, navigation. If I need to get anywhere, I just turn on the app and I'll tell my mum where I need to go, and if she's unsure, the Google Maps can navigate her through to that place where we're
Good.
going.
Very good. I have to come back to something because you said a moment ago you're an Android user through and through. What
Yeah,
what
even
what is it that makes you choose Android?
um, Android. Going back to before I lost my sight, as I said, I'm a geek, and I used to do websites as a part-time thing as well, and I developed a couple of apps. I used to be in a dart league, and to sort of bring them forward for the likes of the monthly or weekly results, I developed an app for it. And when I developed the app and went through all the stages of compiling and making sure it was working okay, I then moved to the iOS side of it, and Apple wanted to charge me a couple of €100 as a developer for them to approve the app for that. So now I will say Apple are fantastic in regards to the likes of if you're doing design and that, they're second to none on that. But from an Android perspective, you're getting an awful lot more out of the Android with the free source licensing, development of apps, the approval of the apps, and what you can actually do on the phones as well is, I find, much, much better.
It's interesting just to hear somebody who's kind of dyed in the wool Android, because we do often hear from people who are very much committed to the Apple kind of ecosystem. So it's good to hear the other side of it as well. When you talk about apps and things like that, you've mentioned Google Maps, and another navigation one you mentioned earlier, I think. Are there any other apps that you find particularly helpful? You said Envision as well was one.
Yeah, Envision AI is a very good app. I've been using that now for, as I said, a few years. And that's very helpful in regards to the likes of documents. Letters, it's very, very good with. It also can do handwriting. You can teach it as well for the likes of face recognition is another part on it. It'll take colors, describe colors for you. Then there's another app I have called TapTapC, which is a free app, and that's very good with describing the likes of clothes. So when I need to pick out clothes, it'll tell me what it is. Say it's a polo shirt and the color is red. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
It's really, really good that way. Then SuperSense is a new one that I'm actually testing out at the moment. It's a free app. And it is really, really good. There's a few things on it. Say if you were in an unfamiliar place like an office building, and you needed to find a door, you can set it to locate a door, and you hold your phone up and it'll beep, and you move it around, and when it locates the door, it'll go like a metal detector, beep 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 beep.
Excellent, yeah.
And so that direction like that, and there's an awful lot of others. Like I even checked it for, I had a coffee cup sitting on the table, and I put it in to find a coffee cup, and I moved it around my room and gradually got near the cup, and it just beep 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 beep.
Yeah, excellent.
So again, that's another very good one. The likes is finding stairways as well with it. It also does OCR, where it'll take an image, and it's very, very quick, like the Envision AI. Now, as I said, I'm only testing it out at the moment to see what it's like, but it is quick and it's very accurate. And again,
what did you say that one is called?
SuperSense.
Very good, SuperSense. Okay, so that's one that maybe people want to check out as well. That sounds good. How would you describe, I know you said earlier that it's been a bit of a process for you, and it's in some ways it's not that long ago that you started losing your sight, and in some ways it probably feels so much longer than just a few years, but you've got to a point where you're kind of managing, but you were saying it's kind of still a bit of a process. So do you feel like technology is really made a big difference to you? Do you feel like it's just kind of helping you to manage, or how would you describe the difference these kind of pieces of technology has made to you?
To be honest with you, I think I would be lost without it. I've been quite lucky, and I use that word lightly because of the fact of the sight loss, but I've been quite lucky with the technology that is there, because it has made it a lot easier. Like I'm down now to trying to make my area where I live fully voice activated. I've got a good bit of it done now at the moment myself. So it's going to make my life an awful lot easier with the technology.
Yeah. And if you were kind of talking to somebody who's maybe listening to this and hasn't really got into technology too much so far, but they're interested in making a bit of a start with technology, they've maybe recently come to terms with sight loss. Is there any advice that you would give them?
Yeah, try and embrace it. Now, again, if it's something that they're only getting into, take it with baby steps because there is an awful lot out there to help you. You will have people throwing lots and lots at you, and it'll be like, oh my God, how am I going to cope with this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you take it baby steps, and if they say, make a list down, right, what's important to me? What would I find helpful? Just starting off, like first, something simple, reading a letter.
Mm.
There is simple things out there that is available. Again, if you have a smartphone, excellent.
Yeah.
I would advise to go with a smartphone, Android preferably.
Yeah. Even the Android lovers get a hearing on the show here. We let everybody say their opinion here. But thanks very much for sharing your experience with us. We appreciate that, and we're sure that that'll be something that's helpful to many people as they're listening and maybe starting on their own journey as well using technology. So thanks very much for talking
Yeah,
to us, Stephen. Appreciate that, and we'll catch up with you again.